Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I am going to do Unit 9 of Class 8, that is Making of National Movement. So guys, today let's start understanding how nationalism slowly took birth in India. Imagine India in 1870. People across the country were facing many problems under British rule. That is, heavy taxes, unfair laws, and racial discrimination had become part of daily life. Naturally, Indians started asking one simple but powerful question. That is, what is India and who is it meant for? Slowly, a new understanding developed that India is not just a landmass, India is its people. And when we say people, it includes everyone, that is, rich or poor, any caste, any religion, any language, men or women. This idea was a big shift. Earlier, people mostly identified with their region or community, but now people began to think as Indians, part of one larger nation. With this growing unity, another realization came: as long as British controlled our resources and ruled our lives, India could never be for Indians. This feeling pushed people to unite and question British authority. During this time, especially after 1850, many political associations started forming. Most were led by educated Indians, especially lawyers and professionals. Important among them were Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, Indian Association, Madras Mahajan Sabha, and Bombay Presidency Association, and later the Indian National Congress. Now, the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha is an interesting example. The word Sarvajanik itself means for all the people. Even thought these organizations worked in specific regions, their goals were national. They believed that the Indian people should be sovereign, meaning people should have the right to decide their own future, not the British. This idea that people are the real source of power is the heart of modern nationalism. But British rule in the 1870s and 1880s became more repressive. This actually strengthened nationalism even more. For example, 1878, the Arms Act was passed. It said Indians could not keep weapons, but British people could. You can immediately sense the racism behind it. In the same year came the Vernacular Press Act, which tried to silence Indian newspapers. If any Indian newspaper printed something objectionable to the British could seize its printing press. This felt like a direct attack on Indian voices. Then in 1883 came the Ilbert Bill issue. This bill said that Indian judges should also be allowed to try European criminals. But white Europeans strongly opposed it. Finally, the British withdrew the bill. Indians felt insulted. It clearly showed that British considered Indians as inferior. These events created anger and shared feelings of injustice among Indians. People now strongly felt the need for an all-India organization to represent them. And finally, in 1885, 72 delegates from all over India met in Bombay and formed the Indian National Congress. Early leaders like Dadabhai Naoroji, W.C. Banerjee, and Surendranath Banerjee and others guided this young organization with the dream of shaping a united India. This is how nationalism truly began, not suddenly but slowly, through shared experiences of injustice and the growing belief that India belonged to its people. Now that the Congress has been formed, let's see how it began shaping the idea of nation. In the first 20 years, the Congress is often called moderate. But moderate doesn't mean weak. It simply means their methods were peaceful and their demands were constitutional. Their main aim was to create political awareness and build a national platform. These leaders felt that if Indians were to be treated fairly, they must have a greater voice in the government. So they demanded that the Legislative Council should have more Indian representatives and more real power. They wanted these councils to be set up even in provinces where none existed yet. They also demanded that Indians should hold high positions in the administration. At that time, almost all important posts were held by white British officers. The Congress said that for true justice and good governance, Indians must also run the administration. For this reason, they insisted that the civil service exam should be held in India as well, not just in London, so more Indians could participate. The demand for Indianization had two deeper meanings. First, it was stand against racism, because British officers believed Indians were not fit for positions of responsibility. Second, it tackled the drain of wealth. British officers who were paid very high salaries would send huge amounts of money back to England. Appointing Indians would reduce this outflow. Along with political demands, the early Congress also raised economic issues. They said openly that British rule was the cause of poverty, famines, and suffering. Revenue demands had increased, making both peasants and landlords poor. Food grains were exported to Europe at the time when Indians were starving. So the Congress asked for lower land revenue and reduced military spendings and more investment in irrigation to help agriculture. They also spoke about the salt tax, the exploitation of Indian laborers abroad, and the pains of forest dwellers who suffered under rigid forest laws. Even though Congress leaders were mostly educated elites, they were beginning to speak for ordinary peoples such as peasants, workers, tribes, and showing that the national movement was slowly expanding beyond cities and upper classes. The moderates believed that if they educated the people about British injustice, a strong national opinion would form. They published newspapers, wrote articles, gave speeches across the country and tried to awaken the masses. They had faith that if Indians presented their demands peacefully, the British who claimed to believe in liberty and justice would listen. But soon this moderate phase was going to be questioned. By the 1890s, a new energy began flowing through the national movement. That is, some leaders felt that the moderate methods were too slow and too soft. In Bengal, Maharashtra and Punjab, the leaders like Bipin Chandra Pal, Bala Gangadhar Tilak and Lala Lajpat Rai emerged. They said that India needed stronger action, not petitions. They criticized the moderates for their politics of prayers, and meaning they kept requesting the British instead of pressuring them. This new group argued that Indians must rely on their own strength. They said that Swaraj, that is self-rule, would not be gifted by the British. It had to be fought for. Tilak became the voice of the new spirit. His slogan, "Freedom is my birthright and I shall have it," electrified the entire nation. For the first time, people began hearing a direct, aggressive claim for complete self-rule. The British decision to partition Bengal in 1905 added fuel to this fire. At that time, Bengal was the largest province, including Bihar and parts of Odisha. The official reason given was administrative convenience, but if the British truly wanted administrative ease, they could have separated the non-Bengali regions. Instead, they cut Bengal into two parts in a way that clearly tried to divide the Bengali-speaking population and the weaken nationalist politics in the region. The people saw through this strategy. The partition of Bengal angered Indians everywhere. Both moderates and radicals united against it. The massive meeting, demonstrations and new methods of protest began. This gave birth to Swadeshi movement. The Swadeshi movement became strongest in Bengal, but its echo spread across the country. In Andhra, it became known as a Vande Mataram movement. This idea was simple but powerful. They opposed British rule through self-reliance and use Indian goods and support Indian industries and promote national education and revive Indian languages. The radical leaders believed mass mobilization was necessary. They encouraged boycotting British goods, schools and institutions. Some young nationalists even felt that revolutionary violence might be needed to remove British rule. During the same time, in 1906, the All India Muslim League was formed by a group of Muslim landlords and aristocrats in Dhaka. The league supported the partition of Bengal and demanded separate electorates for Muslims. That is a demand the British agreed to in 1909. The moment separate electorates were introduced, the politics began shifting towards religious identity and sowing seeds for future division. Meanwhile, the Congress itself split in 1907. That is, moderates did not agree with aggressive tactics like boycotts and feared they would lead to violence. So the radicals left while the moderates controlled the Congress. The two groups reunited only in 1915. The very next year, the Congress and the Muslim League came together and signed the Lucknow Pact of 1916, agreeing to cooperate for the representative government. This was a high point of Hindu-Muslim unity in the national movement, but soon the movement was about to become truly mass-based. Next, the growth of mass nationalism. After 1919, something dramatic happened. That is, the national movement began reaching the common people. It was no longer limited to educated elites. The peasant, workers, women, tribals and students began participating. Even business groups started supporting the Congress. What created this shift? The answer lies in the effects of the First World War. The war had brought enormous economic strain. The defense expenditure shot up. To manage this, the British increased tax on incomes and profits. Prices rose sharply and ordinary Indians suffered due to inflation. At the same time, Indian industrialists made huge profits because the war increased demands for items like clothes, rails and jute bags. The imports from Europe had declined, so Indian industries expanded. The businessmen now wanted the British to reduce restrictions so they could grow further. Another impact was that British expanded their army. The villages were pressured to send soldiers to fight overseas. Many Indian soldiers returned after fighting in different parts of the world. They had seen how other colonial powers treated Asian and African people. This gave them a new awareness about imperialism and increased their desire for freedom. In 1917, the Russian Revolution took place. Its ideas of socialism, workers' rights, and anti-imperial struggle inspired Indian nationalists. The atmosphere was perfect for the rise of mass leader, and that leader was Mahatma Gandhi. Next, Gandhiji returned to India in 1915 at the age of 46. He was already known as a global leader because of his non-violent struggles in South Africa against racist laws. In South Africa, he had worked with Indians of every religion and region, so he understood how unity could be built among very diverse groups. After returning, Gandhiji spent his first year traveling across India to understand the people and their problems. He did not immediately jump into national level politics. Instead, he first looked up the local issues like the Champaran movement of Indigo peasants and Kheda peasant struggle and the Ahmedabad mill work strike, and through these movements he came in contact with leaders like Rajendra Prasad and Vallabhbhai Patel. From 1919 onwards, Gandhiji's methods shaped the national movement. In 1919, the British passed the Rowlatt Act, which gave the government extraordinary powers to arrest people without trial and curb freedom of expression. Gandhiji and Jinnah and others condemned the act as unjust and oppressive. The Gandhiji called for a nationwide satyagraha on 6th April 1919. People were asked to observe the day with prayer and fasting and hartal. The Satyagraha Sabhas were formed to coordinate the movement. For the first time, an all-India protest united people across the region. But the British responded with the severe repression. The situation escalated tragically on 13th April 1919, the day of Jallianwala Bagh massacre. The hundreds of innocent men, women and children were shot by General Dyer in Amritsar. The cruelty shocked the entire nation. The Rabindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood in protest. During the Rowlatt Satyagraha, one important feature was the strong unity between Hindus and Muslims. The Gandhiji always believed India belonged to all religions and that they must support each other in just causes. This unity was tested again soon after in the Khilafat movement. After World War I, the Turkish Sultan, who was also a spiritual head, that is Khalifa, for many Muslims, he was treated harshly by the British. India Muslims were upset both because of this injustice and because of Jallianwala Bagh. And Khilafat leaders such as Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali wanted a national protest. Gandhiji supported their cause and argued that the fight against the Punjab wrongs, that is the Khilafat wrong, and the demand for Swaraj should become one united struggle. This led to the non-cooperation movement of 1920 to 22. The response was remarkable. The students left the government schools and colleges, and lawyers gave up their practices, and people returned British titles and boycotted councils, and foreign clothes was burnt publicly, and imports dropped drastically, and beneath all these, a deeper revolt was brewing across the country. Next, people's initiative. Something beautiful happened during the non-cooperation. That is, people joined the movement in their own ways, connecting it to their local problems. In Kedah, the peasants fought against highland revenue. In Andhra and Tamil Nadu, liquor shops were picketed. And in Guntur, tribals held forest satyagraha because they were angry about restrictions on forest assets. They believed Gandhiji would remove these unjust taxes and laws. Many villagers declared that Gandhi Raj was coming soon. In Sindh, Muslim traders and peasants supported the Khilafat call with great enthusiasm. In Bengal, the Hindu-Muslim unity created a powerful movement. In Punjab, the Akali movement to reform Gurdwaras was linked to non-cooperation. In Assam, the tea garden workers left plantations shouting with Gandhi Maharaj ki Jai, believing he had called them to freedom. It is clear that Gandhiji's name had become a symbol of hope among the poorest of the poor. Next, for many ordinary people, Gandhiji became a kind of messiah. They believed he could end poverty, remove taxes, give them land and free them from exploitation. Gandhiji himself aimed for unity, not conflict. He didn't want class war, but people often imagined things differently. They felt that Gandhiji was responsible for every victory, even those achieved through their own local struggles. Sometimes in his name, actions were taken that did not match Gandhiji's non-violent ideas. This gap between Gandhiji's intention and people's imagination shows how deeply he had entered the minds of ordinary Indians. Next, the movement took an unexpected turn in 1922. In Chauri Chaura, a peaceful protest turned violent after police firing. A mob set fire to a police station and 22 policemen were killed. The Gandhiji, deeply disturbed, immediately called off the non-cooperation movement. He didn't want freedom at the cost of violence. After this, the Congress had to rethink its path. The Gandhiji supporters focused on constructive work, that is promoting Khadi and village upliftment and social reform. On the other hand, leaders like C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru argued that Congress should conduct elections and try to influence policy from within the council. In mid-1920s, two important organizations emerged. That is Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh and the Communist Party of India. They represented very different visions for India. Meanwhile, young revolutionaries like Bhagat Singh were becoming active. By the end of decade 1929, under Jawaharlal Nehru's presidency, Congress declared Purna Swaraj, that is complete independence, as its goal. 26 January 1930 was celebrated across India's Independence Day. Now, the Bhagat Singh and his colleagues formed the HSRA, that is Hindustan Socialist Republican Association, in 1928. They believed that freedom required a revolution led by workers and peasants. They assassinated Saunders in protest against Lala Rajpat Rai's death and later bombed the Central Legislative Assembly, to make the deaf hear. They were executed in 1931 and Bhagat Singh was only a symbol of youthful courage and sacrifice. The next great chapter unfolded in 1930, that is the Salt Satyagraha. Gandhiji believed that freedom must connect with everyday struggles. The salt was perfect because it was essential for both rich and poor. The British salt law made it illegal for Indians to make or sell salt. Gandhiji declared that it was immoral to tax something so basic. So he began the historic 240-mile march from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. The village after village joined him along the way. When he finally picked up a lump of natural salt at the seashore, he symbolically broke the unjust law. It was a simple act, but it shook the empire. Across the country, millions joined the movement. The women participated in large numbers, and tribals and peasants also played a major role. The British responded with the brutal repression. The thousands were jailed, but the movement could not be crushed. The Government of India Act of 1935 introduced provincial autonomy, and elections were held in 1937. The Congress formed governments in 7 provinces. But in 1939, World War II began. The Congress leaders were against fascism, so they were ready to support the British war effort, but only if India would be granted freedom after the war. The British refused, so Congress ministers resigned. Next, in 1942, Gandhiji launched the Quit India movement. He told the British to leave India immediately, and he told Indians, that is, do or die. The leadership was quickly arrested, but the movement spread widely. The youth, peasants, and ordinary people joined with enormous courage. Many students left their studies to participate. The parallel governments were formed in some areas. The British used intense repression, even machine gunning crowds from airplanes. Thousands were imprisoned and hundreds were killed, but the movement shook the foundations of British rule. By now it was clear the British simply could not continue ruling India without massive force. Their legitimacy had completely collapsed. Next, towards independence and partition. While Quit India was happening, another political development was unfolding. In 1940, the Muslim League passed a resolution demanding independent states for Muslims. The word Pakistan wasn't used yet, but the direction was set. Why did this demand arise? Partly because communal tension had increased since the 1920s, but also because after 1937 elections, the League felt that Muslims might be politically marginalized in democratic India. The Congress refusal to form a coalition with the League in the United Provinces further upset them. During the 1940s, when many Congress leaders were jailed, the League expanded its support. The elections in 1946 showed that while Congress had strong support in general constituencies, the League had overwhelming support in Muslim seats. The British cabinet mission tried to keep India united by proposing a loose federation, but Congress and the League could not agree. The partition now seemed unavoidable. The League declared 16th August 1946 as Direct Action Day. The riots broke out in Calcutta and soon violence spread across northern India. By early 1947, hundreds of thousands were killed. The countless families lost their homes and millions became refugees overnight. Finally, in August 1947, India achieved independence, but it came with the painful reality of partition and the birth of Pakistan. The joy of freedom was mixed with deep sorrow. So this ends the Unit 9 and I will upload Unit 10 in the coming days. Till then, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel.